So, are you having foot pain, but it's only in one foot? Have you ever wondered why just one foot hurts? I mean, after all, you got 2 feet. They walk the same distance, they wear the same kind of shoes, they carry the same body. So, why does one become painful while the other one feels perfectly fine? This is a simple question, but it often leads us to a much bigger understanding of how the body works. Sometimes the painful foot isn't the problem. It's actually revealing a movement pattern and a way of holding the weight in your body that the other foot isn't doing, and it's overloaded. So today, let's explore why one-sided foot pain often has less to do with the foot itself, and if you try just to treat the foot, you keep having problems. It has more to do with the way your body moves through that side. We'll look at how your ankle, your fascia, your hips, and your movement habits can gradually change the way one foot carries load. And I'll share with you a few movement ideas you can explore that help you restore more balanced movement side to side, or at least be aware that you're doing it. My hope is you'll begin to see that the painful foot is actually a clue rather than a mistake or a failure. I'm Dr. Melanie Carlone. I'm a physical therapist, I'm a somatic practitioner, and someone who deeply believes the body is constantly adapting to help us move through the world, doing what we're asking it to do, only a lot of times we forget what we asked it. One of the things I love about movement is it leaves clues all the time. Our bodies are always telling us a story. And sometimes we just haven't learned how to listen and how to read it. And one-sided pain is almost always one of those clues. Because when only one side begins complaining, we get curious about what that side has been asked to do differently, why it's not symmetrical. Not because it's weaker, but because it's working differently. So it seems obvious that both feet should probably work the same way, right? But in reality, they rarely do. Most of us have a preferred side, a side that if someone rolls you a ball, you're going to kick with that foot, a side we balance on, a side we kick with, a side we push off from, a side we unconsciously trust a little more. If we lose our balance, we catch it. And over years, those tiny preferences start to add up and they become movement habits. And movement habits become loading patterns. And eventually one foot starts carrying all the responsibility that the other one doesn't have. So if one of your feet has quietly taken on a different job, what's changed? One of the first places I become curious about is the ankle. Healthy ankles don't just move forward and backwards. They rotate, they adapt, they roll, they respond to changing surfaces. Every step you take, especially on uneven surfaces, is slightly different. But after an old ankle sprain, especially if you've torn ligaments, or you spent period in a walking boot or even crutches, years in stiff shoes, or simply just repetitive motion always in the same direction, the ankle loses some of its options for movement. And of course, the body wants to keep walking, so it has to find a different strategy. It starts to shift weight differently around the area that's problematic, changes its timing, it moves around the restriction because you can't move through it. So the painful foot isn't necessarily weaker, and actually sometimes it's even stronger because it's carrying way too much load. It's often working around a problem that's been quietly developing for years, not just in the foot and ankle, but also in the hips. So if the problem's higher up, why doesn't the body just restore them? Well, one of the real fascinating things about your nervous system is that it doesn't chase perfect symmetry, it chases efficiency. If a certain movement keeps you walking when that ankle's been hurt or the hip bothers you, then it repeats it, and it repeats it, and it repeats it, even if it's slightly uneven. The body isn't trying to create imbalance, it's trying to avoid interruption. And eventually that uneven movement starts to feel normal. So if you do it another way, that doesn't feel normal. And then one side starts carrying more than it can comfortably manage over time. Pain is never punishment, it's information. It's the body's way of asking for more attention and more choice of movement. So instead of trying to quiet that painful foot, what if we restored some of those missing options? So before we try a few movement ideas, I want you to just notice. Get into yourself and notice. That's for usually the first part of change. When you stand, and maybe you stand right now, do you naturally shift more weight onto one leg? Usually stand with one hip pushed out to the side. When you sit, do you typically cross one leg over the other and it feels strange to do it the other way? Most people end up doing these things over time without ever realizing it. So leave me a comment below and let me know. You might be surprised how often these simple habits are actually connected to one-sided pain. When you do something about it, it shifts. So these are movement ideas I'm going to offer to explore. Feel free to adjust them. Don't need to be painful. Tune into your body and figure out what's appropriate. So the first one I'm going to have you work with is ankle circles. So go ahead as you're sitting. I'm going to use my hands because it's hard to see my feet. And I want you to extend your toes and pull your foot back, and then start to go around and keep breathing in your low back quietly. Curl the toes and point your foot down. And then as you lift the foot, extend the toes again as you pull back. Okay? So round and round you go. And rather than making those movements really large, make them really intentional. See if you can make them smooth. Do a few one direction and then go the other. And notice if one direction feels different than the other. Notice where you feel it. Okay? A key to this also is deep, slow breathing. Low back ribs, front, up into the chest. Exhale twice as long as the inhale. Low back ribs expand in the back, come to the front, up into the chest. Exhale twice as long. Keep circling. Now go to the other side. You've gone both directions. Extend, pull the toes back, open the sole of the foot, curl and round. Breathe. The breathing is a really important way of telling your nervous system, hey, this is cool, this is chill, especially if you're moving into an old injury or a place that you've been protecting. You want to have that breath telling the body that it's okay. All right, and then go the other way, lifting the toes on extension and curling them as you go down. Beautiful. All right, now let's explore using a tennis ball on the sole of the foot. So you can get a tennis ball. This is a therapy ball, which is harder, or even the old super balls. If you can get a hold of these are awesome for the feet. And I want you first to practice exploring the foot and move slowly. Come down in the arch and just press. So you have your heel on the ground. You can do this standing, but not full weight. Be compassionate. Find points in the arch. Notice the ones that feel like, woo, that's intense. Be gentle. Then go to the forefoot and go from the big toe, the ball of the big toe at the base, across the transverse arch. You don't just have an arch here, you got an arch here. Pressing, noticing, breathing. And then put your toes down and come down on the heel. And be kind. Many of us have this like latent plantar fasciitis that wants to flare up. Just notice. You're not trying to crush the tissue in any way. You're helping the foot rediscover movement. Okay? Then I want you to come back to the points that were tender, and you're going to press down on the ball and give a little wiggle. Do some fascial unwinding on those tender spots and be very compassionate. Do the arch. Do the front of the foot, the ball of each toe, opening and spreading the space in between the toes, and then the heel. Find the points, wiggle. Okay, it should feel good. Repeat that now on the other side. Finding pressure points in the center, the forefoot, the heel of the foot, coming back to those spots. And a lot of times they feel better just having explored them and moving, wiggling side to side. Okay? This can be so incredibly helpful. It is extraordinary. Then come back, if you've done that, and come from the big toe and roll the ball to the heel. Okay, so you're going to move your foot forward. Whoops. Move your foot forward, rolling. Big toe, second toe, third, just like that. Okay? Good even pressure, roll the foot. And then when you're done with that, side to side. Forefoot, arch, heel. Okay? So pressure points, pressure release, roll front to back, and then side to side. This is so altering to how you feel about your feet. If you've done this and you stand up now, you're probably going to know you feel totally different in your feet. It's so helpful. I usually recommend doing it twice a day when one of your feet bothers you or both of them. And make it a tiny habit. Attach it to something you already do every day, like brushing your teeth. Put a small, beautiful cup in the bathroom and keep your ball in it. I put my small ball in it. It's kind of big. And then every time you brush your teeth, use the ball. It makes a difference. All right. Now we're going to do something that can make a really big difference in how you discover your hip motion. We're going to stand on a yoga block with weight even across the tripod foot, and we're going to lower our foot to one side. Okay? So let me go ahead and show this to you. So let me make sure you can see me. Right? All right, here's my yoga block. I'm going to come onto the yoga block with one foot and find my tripod, all right? Standing on the ground, I'm going to find my heel, ball of my big toe, ball of my little toe, and I'm going to make this foot even with that foot, but now I'm going to drop it off to one side. Belly button in, spine long. I'm going to drop one hip to the ground, and I'm going to lift it back up. Now, for some of you, this may be impossible, or it may be easy to do on one side, and you can't even do it on the other. Be curious, don't force it. If you're stiff enough you can't get to your foot to the ground, it'll come back with repetition, kindness. It doesn't come by trying to force. So be very gentle. If you've had a fusion in your back, especially if it's been recent in the last year, you should talk to a PT before you do this. But otherwise, this can make a huge difference in your hip and low back. So feet even, drop, breathing. Lift back up. You can even lift it a little higher. And drop. Slow count of 5. Tripod foot on my standing leg. And exploring my hip motion. And then, yep, you got it. You're going to go around to the other side. Don't lock your knees when you do this. Let your knees be slightly bent, not rigid. Hands on hip, breathing in the low back, around to the front, up into the chest. Drop. And lift. And get a sense of how much mobility do you actually have in your hips moving side to side. Because if you repeatedly only cross one leg over the other, you've gotten into a rotation pattern and a side bending pattern that's limiting the mobility that you have in your hips. So that one exercise can be profoundly helpful in being able to bring symmetry and at least awareness back. Some of you may not even get to the same, but you begin to bring in a comparison and an understanding of how you are in your pelvis. It's really powerful. It also strengthens the legs. So when it gets easier, do it 20 times. Your spine stabilizes and lengthens. You drop and lift. This one exercise reconnects your feet all the way up through your rib cage, into your chest, to your crown. And for a spine that's been injured, a pelvis that's gone quiet, this can help wake up that right to left connection, that front to back connection, and allow both hips to share the work equally. Okay, so after you've done that, go ahead and walk and just notice what feels different. You're probably going to feel very different in your pelvic basin. One of the biggest lessons our body teaches us is we're never perfectly symmetrical, and that is okay. The goal isn't identical movement. But when you have pain on one side, the goal is to be able to adapt any fixed movement patterns so that the whole body has options. Each side has options, so one area doesn't have to compensate for everything. And sometimes just restoring a little freedom to the ankle or to the hip changes the way the whole leg organizes itself. And that's the beauty of an interconnected system. Small changes can ripple like all through the whole ecosystem of your body. So if only one foot has been bothering you, I hope today's conversation encourages you not to give up, to get curious rather than frustrated. Your painful foot may be telling you that it's not weak, may even be too strong. It's just revealing that there's a movement pattern that's become a movement habit developing over time, because your body is always adapting. And with compassion, curiosity, breath to invoke quieting of your nervous system, it can start to adapt in new, healthier ways. So if you've tried these movement ideas, I'd love to hear what you discovered. Did one ankle move differently? Did one side actually feel easier than the other in the hip drop? Did your walking change? Leave me a comment below and let me know. I read them and it matters. And if this video helped you understand your body even a little bit differently, stay tuned, because that's what I want to give into the world. So like it, subscribe, and move with compassion. Be kind to yourself. These are the days we've got to do that. Breathe with awareness. And remember, sometimes the painful side isn't broken. It's simply a place that's been telling you the truth. Too much is being expected of it. What can you do to balance that out? So thank you, guys. If you want, check out my website, alignrenewthrive.com. And if you're in Eugene, Oregon, or the surrounding areas, or you want to do a telehealth thing, I would love to do that with you. So thank you, and we'll see you guys again. Bye.